True stories, undeniable healing, real hope. Abortion hurts, God heals. True stories, undeniable healing, real hope. Abortion hurts, God heals.
Welcome to Abortion Hurts, God Heals, where you will find true stories, undeniable healing, and real hope. We're your hosts. I'm Saundra Decker.
And I'm Virginia Lang. Abortion Hurts, God Heals was created to educate, enlighten, and bring the hope of healing to people through the heartfelt stories of those who've chosen abortion, suffered the consequences, and accepted God's forgiveness and healing.
Yes, and both Virginia and I are post-abortive women ourselves, and we believe it's truly important to share our stories. There's a lot of misinformation out there about abortion, and if we don't speak up and share our stories, then how will people know what the truth about abortion really is? That it does hurt women and men in relationships, but more importantly, that God can heal hearts and restore lives.
A little background about Abortion Hurts, God Heals. We both began as church-based leaders of post-abortion Bible studies. And then in 2014, God led us to branch out on our own, and Abortion Hurts, God Heals was begun. And since then, we've continued to offer the post-abortion healing Bible studies. We have taken our stories on the road, so to speak, with a panel event in which a team of women shares their stories and their testimonies, and we've gone to churches, women's retreats, colleges, and universities across South Texas.
Yes, and we also broadcast an Abortion Hurts, God Heals radio show every week from AM 630 The Word in San Antonio, Texas. And we invite you to listen to our radio show where you're going to hear abortion stories from a variety of perspectives. You're going to hear from women who have faced the abortion choice, the men in their lives. You'll hear about abortion providers who used to be in the abortion industry, and also those who have survived abortions as babies.
That's right, and you can listen to our radio show one of two ways. You can go to the radio station's website, kslr.com, and you can click on the Listen Live button every Sunday night at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Or you can go to our website, abortionhurtsgodheals.com, and you can find the podcast for 3.5 years worth of radio programs and catch it at your convenience.
Yes, that's right. Our website is also a great place to find written testimonies, videos, and resources for people with questions about abortion. So be sure to visit abortionhurtsgodheals.com, and if you're a Facebook person, you can also like and share our Facebook page, which is called Abortion Hurts, God Heals.
And more recently, obviously, God has opened the door for us to go into television. So here we are on the TV. And each week we're going to bring you a fresh interview where you're going to hear true stories, undeniable healing, and real hope. This being our very first show of Abortion Hurts, God Heals, we thought it would be important for you to get to know about us, about our personal stories. So today I'm going to interview Saundra, my co-host, and next week she will interview me. So Saundra, let's go back a little bit prior to your abortion experience, back into your childhood. You had an unconventional childhood. Tell us about it.
Yes, I had a conventional family, so we had a beautiful family, a loving family, but the thing that was different about my childhood was that I was a pageant kid and a competitive child. So I started when I was 6 years old in competitions, talent contests, pageants, and I did that all the way through until I was in my early 20s. Had won over thousands of awards, and I know that sounds a little crazy, but it was over thousands of awards, and it puts a lot of pressure on a child when they're competitive. So not if it's just a pageant, it could be anything like swim or, whatever they're
You
competing
loved
in.
it, but still,
Absolutely
it was
loved
pressure.
it. Yes, absolutely loved it. And but it puts a lot of pressure on you to be perfect. There were a lot of kids in my school who, looked up to me. I was in the paper almost weekly for accomplishments, and so yeah, it was just different than most. Most kids were out playing in the sand, and I was practicing and competing.
All eyes were on you.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, so I'm sure that kind of had some bearing on what happened later on in life. So where do you go from there?
Yeah, so when I was in my early 20s, I'd always had a dream as a child to be in the Miss America pageant.
That's every girl's little dream, I
think. Yes, to walk the Miss
point.
America runway.
Yeah.
And so when I got the age where I could actually compete, I competed 3 years in a row. In my third year, I won Miss West Virginia, so I represented the state I was living in and going to school at the time. And I was just fortunate enough to win and be in the Miss America pageant in 1987, walked the Miss America runway, and it was a grand experience.
Wow, that's every girl's little dream at some point, so that's awesome. But after that, you found yourself in an unexpected pregnancy. How do you reconcile your public persona with this kind of unexpected dilemma that you found yourself in?
Exactly, and that's exactly what you said. It was a dilemma for sure. I was not married. It was an unplanned pregnancy. A guy I had just been dating a little while, and I do want to mention also that you can get pregnant by not actually having sexual intercourse, and that did happen to me. It was a close situation, and I told him no, but it was close enough that I had gotten pregnant.
Well, that's a cautionary tale for everybody.
Yes, and so when I'd found out I was pregnant, I can't even begin to describe the devastation that happened in my heart. I knew that I couldn't tell my parents. I was a people pleaser, and so I knew I couldn't tell my parents and disappoint them, and not only that, but just shame them. And so I knew, I didn't really know much about abortion, but I knew that I had to fix, in my mind, what was a mistake and what had to be covered up. And so at that time, I chose abortion.
Yeah, who did you go to? I mean, did you know someone who had an abortion?
No, I did not. I was actually sent to Dallas at that time to go to flight attendant training. So I was going to be there for 6 weeks, and then I was going to be sent off to who knows where they would base me. And of course, never being in a place that I'd ever been before, it was back in the yellow page day. So yeah. I frantically was looking in the yellow pages for an abortion facility in the Dallas area. I had 1 day off in training and found that, found that location. I had asked my roommate to take me, and I just want to say that it was the most devastating and dark day of my entire life.
Well, let's talk about that day, if you don't mind going there, because we need to, what we do on this show is uncovering things and taking things from dark to light. And that's really important when we get to your healing. But share with the audience that day. What do you remember about that day, Saundra?
Well, I just remember dark, gloomy, rainy, foggy, cold. And some of that describes the actual weather of the day, but it described what was happening in my heart and to my soul. I don't remember a lot of what happened at the clinic. I do remember walking into the clinic and just feeling that sense of dread. I knew what I was doing was wrong, but I thought I had to fix this mistake. And so I really, truly, looking back, it was so selfish of me to consider myself over my child. And in all honesty as well, I remember thinking and hearing that if you do have an abortion early enough, that it's not a child yet. So I remember that panicked rush of her trying to hurry up to get this done.
About how far along were you in your pregnancy?
I think I was about 11 weeks.
Okay, so yeah, there was not a lot of time to sit on the fence.
Yeah, no, definitely not a lot of time. And again, I looked at this as a fix. I didn't even view this as my child. I mean, I knew I was pregnant, right. But your mind does something that takes you to a different place because you just have to worry about yourself now and, protecting your family and protecting your image. And that's what I did.
Did the clinic staff correct you on that massive cells kind of thing, or they talk you through child fetal development?
I really don't. I don't remember having counseling. I don't remember talking to anyone. I do remember having a blood test, which I found out I was RH negative, which I think has a little something to do with the medication that they have to give me. But I don't remember much about counseling at all. I just remember it being, you know, you're here, you're there, you're here, you're there on the table, and the next thing you know, it's over. Yeah. And so, yeah, leaving that place, I just wasn't the same anymore.
What changed about you that day?
Well, and you know, as I had said before, I was walking the Miss America runway just a year before this time, and I could say that back then I had a light shining in me, but that day, that light was extinguished. The day that I chose abortion, everything changed about me. I within days after that procedure, I went home and started just binging. And it's so funny because we're here in Killeen, Texas, and you know, just coming by here and remembering that I had actually been in the city a little after I had had my abortion, and just remembering locking myself in an apartment and just binging on food, not even realizing what I was doing. I had to do it. It was maybe some sort of way to control things in my life that I felt out of control.
So it wasn't a holdover from like pageant days. I imagine there are some people in pageants who have anorexia, but that wasn't your case.
Absolutely not. No, I was, you know, I was at the prime of my life, so I didn't really have, you know, it was literally, now that I look back, it happened instantly, and I just, again, just locking myself in my apartment and not wanting anyone to be around me or see me or talk to me. And I had just been, you know, talking to hundreds or thousands of people, signing autographs not long ago. Yeah. And so it's almost like light on, light off that quickly.
And you had to go back to work. How was that for you?
Well, you have to here's the deal. You have to keep going on because you don't really have a choice. It's hard to sit and look at what you did. So the only thing is to know in your mind, I've done this and now I have to move on. But things just kept going downhill for me. Emotionally, physically, relationship-wise, everything became a struggle. There were things that happened, you know, in the next 10 years, next to 15 years, relationships ruined, no relationships with women. I totally stayed away from, you know, girlfriends and things like that. I guess I felt like they might find me out or they might know. It was a secret I held away from my parents. So that relationship then had this big barrier and wall, and I never was able to really become close as I was with my parents because I was holding this big secret.
Some people who have had abortions have problems relating to children, or maybe their age group is having children. Did you experience any weirdness that way?
Yeah, I did not have my own biological child until I was 40 years old. I just didn't feel worthy to have children. When I was around babies, I had just an uncomfortableness, and I'll bring up one thing about when I was a flight attendant, I had mentioned, and when I was a flight attendant, one passenger at one point had asked me to hold hold her baby while she went to the lavatory, and so I said sure, and I wasn't even thinking. I was like, yeah, you know, we do what we can to help our passengers, and so I held this baby in my arms. And the mom had gone up to go to the lavatory. The flight was full, it was packed, and there were people, you know, I felt just staring a hole in me when the baby started screaming. And it wasn't that the baby was screaming, I think because the baby wasn't screaming, but I was so
they can tense, sense your tension.
And, you know, uncomfortable. I didn't relate it at that time. Like, I didn't go, oh, well, the reason I can't hold this baby is because I have had an abortion. But as I look back at my journey, I realized that I avoided baby showers. My friends, you know, when they were pregnant, I didn't want to celebrate. And, you know, any topic of someone, are you guys going to get pregnant? Are y'all going to have children? Was just absolutely not, you know, like, no, I'm not having kids. And it was because I didn't feel I was worthy.
And that actually did come up again with your husband. You eventually went on and got married, and
yes. Yeah. My first marriage ended, but then yes, I ended up, you know, having a child of my own with my husband, and she's precious. She's 12 now, and what a blessing she is. But I want to share something else about a God and healing, because God has healed my heart. I wouldn't be here being able to just share any of this if he hadn't come in and swept me away and just said, I've got this. But my daughter, who is my only biological child, was born, she's a miracle. I had her when I was 40, and after I birthed her, I had never had another period. So I went through menopause, really, maybe during my pregnancy or during the first year that I nursed her, and never had.
That's pretty bizarre.
Never had another
Saundra.
child. Yeah, like the timing of having her was perfect.
Right. But going back a little bit into your first marriage,
Yes.
you had wanted to have a family. Talk about how that sort of got derailed.
Well, I don't know if I ever envisioned having a family. I was just afraid to. I was just afraid to, to have a child. I really just didn't feel like I was worthy.
Okay. So God intervened. At some point, he put it on your heart that you needed to deal with this secret that you'd been carrying for a long, long time. How did your healing journey start?
Well, I gave my life to Christ, which was really the turning point of everything. I laid everything down at the foot of the cross except for my abortion sins. I did not feel like that was something that I could do. I felt like I wanted to own it, and it was too big for God. But after maybe a year and a half after I'd given my life to Christ, it's funny, God puts these little nudges in and little signs and things that make you feel uncomfortable. Maybe someone speaking in church about abortion or that topic coming up. But what had happened was at church, there was a video that our pastor had shown, and it had some women sharing their abortion experiences and talked about healing. And I just remember God just saying, this is for you. You need to hear this right now.
It's not a comfortable feeling, but
it's very
you
uncomfortable.
felt convicted. Yeah.
Very uncomfortable. Because I didn't want to bring that up. I couldn't even say the word abortion. So, but there was a class that they had introduced that was going to happen at our church. It was a post-abortion Bible study, which is one that we actually do now here at Abortion Hurts, God Heals. And I just knew I had to go. I didn't want to go. I was kicking and screaming the whole way, but I knew I needed to go, and it was God saying, I have so much more for you, and I don't want you to be where you are. I want you to be free, and I want you to feel joy. And so I crawled myself into class every week and went through the class and received the most amazing, beautiful healing. I was able to grieve the loss of my child, which I had not even viewed this as a child.
People don't think that
Right.
post-abortive women have a right, number one, to grieve a child that they had a hand in ending the life of. So,
Yeah, so that's something you don't think about because you think it was a procedure and it fixed your mistake. But in reality, going through post-abortion Bible study and realizing that my child was conceived in my womb and had significance and was able to grieve that loss was huge. I cried a lot. I still cry at times. But I know that through those tears, every time I cry tears, that God's healing me even more, and that he has my child in heaven with him. And it's just knowing that brings you a peace and a comfort like none other.
Right. And since you've walked that healing journey these past, 7 or 8 years ago, and how has life changed for you? How's your walk with the Lord changed? Because you were a baby Christian when you laid this down, yeah?
Yes, I was. I'd given my life to Christ in 2003. I went through my post-abortion Bible study in 2007, I believe. And immediately after that study, I felt a fire within me to do something. And what God was leading me to do was to speak, because in my heart he was speaking, if you don't speak, then how are people going to know what I can do? So I had a hurdle to overcome, and the hurdle was getting rid of who I was and what I thought people thought of me, because I was so, a pageant kid, right? I'm so concerned about what people think of me, and are they judging me? But I had to let go of that, and I had to realize that what he did was more important than what than my story.
Right.
It's
And-
his story, not
and
my
he
story.
used, the Lord used sort of a baptism by fire as far as getting you in a public place with that, with the ICNN story.
Oh my gosh, yes.
It's just amazing.
No, this
Yeah.
is so awesome because, again, God giving nudges when you're a little uncomfortable and you don't want to do something, and he's like nudging you, but it's all for good when
Right.
it's coming. And so what's amazing is that I had been asked to write a CNN story. And so basically it's just a story, and it was the question.
On the internet, right?
Yeah, it was on the internet, and it was the question was, how has abortion affected your life? And so I typed it in, and I actually asked my husband. I was like, hey, can you come read this? I don't really know what this all means, but I'm just going to send this in. And so he said it was great. And so I sent it in. I submitted it, and so I go into the bathroom, I'm going to take a bath, and my phone is sitting on the counter, and my phone starts going off, like beeping, like messages keep coming in, Facebook messages, all this, and I'm like, what is going on? And all of a sudden, I get out and I'm looking at my phone and I'm reading messages, and people are saying, oh my gosh, I didn't know you went through this before. Oh my gosh, I had an abortion. I've never told anyone before. Your story is so inspiring. Like, people were just writing things into me, and I'm like, oh my, what happened?
What have
like,
I done?
I submitted to a CNN. How are people seeing this? Well, when I submitted it to CNN iStory, it went out to everyone who could see my news feed on Facebook could see that story. And so I'm sitting at the top of the steps, and I run up to the top of the steps, and I have my phone, and I'm actually deleting friends. Again, all about me, right? Thinking about like how I'm pleasing people or what people are thinking of me, but I'm deleting all my friends or my parents' friends that I don't, I'm like, are unsafe.
What if they call mom?
Yes, what if
Yeah.
they call mom or whatever, all those things that are going through your mind. And so I'm deleting, and all of a sudden I had this, and I have goosebumps saying it right now. I had just goosebumps and just a calm and a peace come over me. And I just felt in my heart God saying, I've got this, it's okay. I'm gonna cry, but I've got this.
Yeah.
This isn't about you, this is about me and what I can do, and it's okay. And it's amazing that day, that the courage that he gave me that day, to continue to speak out, through that. That's how this ministry was born. Abortion Hurts, God Heals. It's just grown leaps and bounds from the time that we started this ministry with panel events and speaking events and radio and now television. And so it's just, again, not about me, but about him and his story and what he can do. And that, again, is the purpose behind, like I said, this ministry. It's us sharing our stories so that people who are hurting can know, hurting from abortion can know that God can forgive that.
Yeah. I remember back in 2014, as the Lord was working in your heart to branch out into this independent ministry, Matthew West had that song, Do Something.
Yes.
It just came out, and that really spoke to you, and it spoke to me because, if not you, then who?
Then who?
If
Right.
you don't do it now, then when?
Exactly.
And if people don't know, and that's what he created us for, is to listen to his lead and go and do.
Yes.
And so,
yes.
you
And
know,
that was the fire,
hopefully we're doing
right? That really truly started this ministry,
Yeah.
the fire that he gave us, because when you feel something that comes from the Lord, it's absolutely undeniable, and it's not coming from anywhere else, and it's all about him. And so you just have to move.
That's right. And when you walk in obedience, the Lord opens doors, and he's proven that time and time again in our ministry. So I'm so grateful that you were willing to be the first one on our show to share your story and be transparent, because people need to hear, right? You need to hear true stories, and from that you're going to get undeniable hope.
Yes. Yes. And the healing
to
that
move
comes
on.
only from God.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right. So thank you for sharing.
Yes.
Yeah.
So 1 in 5 women have had abortions in America. So someone that is grieving their lost child. There are people who are fathers of children that were aborted. There are people who are grieving lost children, grandchildren, and siblings. And we want you to know, if you're one of those people right now and you're listening to the show or you're watching this show, that there is help and there is hope in the Lord. And I know that hopefully my story has spoken to you as well. And also next week, it's awesome because we're going to hear Virginia's story, her abortion story.
Right, and at this point I'd like to end our show with a word of prayer. Okay. Father God, I come to you with we come to you with our hearts wide open, and we thank you for opening the doors that we could offer this show, Abortion Hurts, God Heals, to the people. And really we are offering it to you, Lord, for your glory, because we know that through sharing our stories and interviewing other people about their stories, that people listening will begin to realize that I don't have to continue to hurt from my abortion. God is big enough to heal me. And so, Lord, I thank you in advance for all the lives you're going to change. I thank you for the differences you're going to make in people's lives. And we look forward to next week. We look forward to great things, Lord, coming out of this show. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you so much, Virginia. So remember also that you can listen to Abortion Hurts, God Heals radio show on am630theword.com. It's on every Sunday night, 7 to 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. And also, if you're a Facebook person, feel free to visit our Facebook page. It's called Abortion Hurts, God Heals, and you can give us a like and give us a share.
Right, so as she mentioned, our website, abortionhurtsgodheals.com, just has so many things to offer you. We have videos of many women from our team sharing their stories. We have written testimonies from women on our team sharing their stories. We have articles, just different things, and resources. If you're contemplating abortion, or you've been hurt by abortion and you're watching this and you go, where do I go to a healing class? There's numbers there to connect you in your community to a place for healing. Yeah.
Yes, I love that social media and websites can make resources so much easier to go to. So we just want to thank you all for joining us. Be sure to tune in next week to Abortion Hurts, God Heals, where you will continue to hear true stories, undeniable healing, and real hope.
Thank you.
True stories, undeniable healing, real hope. Abortion hurts, God heals. True stories, undeniable healing, real hope. Abortion hurts, God heals.